Hi, everybody. I just thought, I was just like sitting and thinking because there's been something that's been on my mind, I think, since yesterday and today. And based on where we are as a country and globally, it's just, crazy. We've never been in the space before. We have never been in a place like this before, and it's really really a crazy thing that's affecting and impacting on everyone, directly. So it made me and kind of reminded me of something that really came to me sometime when I was actually standing and looking at a building, and when I was looking at this building, I was kind of like amazed about how something can be built from like nothing, from ground up, and one of the things that really took and got my attention when I was looking at this construction site, of a building being built, was the messiness, was, how things kind of like looked and were in a mess. I mean, you like looking at, the cement, the equipment, the brakes, cement bags, basically everything on that construction site is basically in a mess, you know? And I'm like, shoot, man, how do you make sense of all this mess, And I'm looking at these workers that are there with their helmets and uniform and overalls, and I'm like, these guys are like working, and it looks like they know what they're doing, and they actually just working. And I'm looking and I'm like, man, I don't know if I would be knowing who I am and how I am, be able to work on in such a mess. It's such a mess. For me, things need to be like on a. They need to be like there needs to be order, so that I can think and be able to work. But on this construction site, man, things are in a mess all over the place. Another thing though that also got my attention was the board outside the construction building, probably in the entrance of the construction building. I was like looking at this board. Those boards that have the construction company name, and I think they also have the date of when the construction starts and when it ends or something like that. It also has the engineer details, the contact details, and all of that information. But what that board also has is a picture of the building that's being constructed. And one of the things that really amazes me when I look at that is like, I do not know, I can't see how that can, in a few months' time, look like that. You know what I'm saying? So you look at that and you're like, this beautiful, wow, this is going to be a really nice looking building. It's going to be a really nice tall building, beautiful big building. But the way it looks now and today, when I look at it, it looks a mess. Let me remove this thing about my battery that is low. Interrupter. So yeah, you look at this thing and you're like, it's gonna be a beautiful building. But at this time when I look at it, I can't see that. I can only see the picture that is on the board. But when I look at that actual construction that's happening there, man, it's a mess. And I'm like, God, isn't this sometimes how our lives is or are? Isn't that what sometimes happens to us? You look at your circumstance and where you are, and I think that's for a lot of us, that's where we are at this moment. You look at the areas in your life, and you look at where you are and your environment and your circumstances, and everything, man, looks a mess. You do not know if you're going to have a job next month or tomorrow or next week or whenever. You do not know what you're going to eat or feed your kids with. man, you do not know whether you're gonna still have a family intact next month. You think, man, how am I gonna survive? You look at the other side and you look at, shoo, my family is all over the place. My family is a mess. Things are all over the place. You look at your finances, man, things are not adding up. It's a mess. It's a mess. You look at your relationships, your friendships. Some of them are a mess. You know? You look at all these areas of your life, even your physique, even your health looks a mess. We went for a checkup the other day and they told you really good, bad news, man. You know? So things look at this point in time where you are a mess. Just like that building that is under construction looks a mess. Things are all over the place. And I'm like, God, isn't this how sometimes our life is? But God says, I know this building looks a mess now. But look at and focus on that image, that depiction of what we are doing here under construction. I pray and I hope that all of us can hear and really use this time when we can and if we can, to hopefully see and visualize what it is that God, who is the constructor, whose name is on that board as the construction company, as the engineer, is doing under construction in our lives. To see and visualize what it is that God is constructing in our families, what God is constructing in our finances, what God is constructing in our businesses, what God is constructing in our health, what God is constructing in our relationships. What God, I hope that we can see and visualize what He is constructing and has under construction in our lives at this point in time where we are in the world and here in our lives. So this really made me think a lot, man, that what, I just get a sense that God is constructing things in our lives. This time that we have here now, God is really using it to construct certain things. And I wish and I pray that we will be able to see and have a picture like in that board of what God is actually has under construction in our lives. That's why sometimes I've been trying not to watch so many news, and I'm trying actually not to watch the news. I go there just to updates, but I go back because I find that they kind of like take me away from what is potentially is possible in the mess that we find ourselves in at this point. I'm trying to, in my mind and in my spirit, to see what God has under construction. I hope that we are able to see and visualize that, and I pray that we do. And I'm trying to encourage you and me at the same time to be able to be in a position to do that. Because man, when you even think about it, I've had the opportunity, like many of us, to really enjoy a good meal. Enjoy a nice, good, and well-cooked meal. But before that meal was cooked, even before you got the time to sit and enjoy that meal, if you had gone to the kitchen, man, it's a mess. You've got vegetables, you've got the ingredients, you've got the pots, you've got the dishes on the, you've got things everywhere in the kitchen. But we don't know what the person that is cooking has in mind, but only the person that is cooking knows what they have in mind. Up until when they finished and they served the meal, we are able to enjoy that meal. But that meal didn't start as a really nice cooked meal. There was such a mess around to actually to cook and put together this amazing meal. That building that I'm talking about, when I went and saw it a few months later, I was amazed, man, that wow, this building, it's such a nice, tall, beautiful building that was built. But that building did not come from there. That building came from a mess, cement, building material, equipment, everything around that building, including your house as well that you live in. The house that you and me live in, beautiful houses when you look at them outside. But those houses, man, if they can give you the pictures or the videos of when or before they started constructing on those buildings, you would be like, no, man, it can't be. There was such a mess around these building and construction sites. You could not even fathom in your mind that this could actually be that in a few months or weeks' time or years' time. But here it is now standing, beautiful for you and me to live in it and enjoy it. I believe that now, for some of us, if not all of us, God is doing something in our lives. God is constructing something in our finances, something in our families, something in our businesses, something in our minds, in our hearts, in our spirits. I think that our lives, some of us, are under construction. Thank you.